Welcome, everyone, to our daily broadcast on Kabbalah for Heretics with me, your host, Yakov, Leib, HaKohain. We're in volume 4 of the 5 volumes of the Zohar, and we have gotten to this place, as I'm sure you must remember by now since I say it every morning, over the past 25 years. Page by page, volume by volume. Here we are in volume 4. Now something's going to be said now in the Zohar that if it doesn't blow your mind, you're out of your mind. Because, listen to this. Said Rebbe Eliezer, it is written, quote, his body shall not remain all night on the tree. Good God, that thou defile not the land, from Deuteronomy. His body shall not spend the night on the tree. Jesus was taken down before the night and put in the cave, correct, Yesod? It's absolutely a prefiguration of Jesus. Absolutely. This is all in the context of what we've been talking about before the broadcast began, and that is the presence of evil forces. It says, if, however, Israel is only in the grade of ordinary souls and does not aspire to rise higher, its punishment is great. For there are men who cleave to that evil side because they are not endowed with more than this ordinary soul. And when this unclean spirit passes by them, it rests upon them, and they cleave to it. Thus, their sin is from the side of the unclean spirit, and their offering is a goat, a beast, which comes from that side, and so is a fitting atonement. Then it said Rebbe Eliezer, it is written, his body shall not remain all night on the tree, that thou shalt defile thy land. Seemingly out of nowhere, a reference here is made to the Messiah. And a rather direct reference to the coming of the Messiah, Yeshua bar Miriam, Jesus of Nazareth. You'll notice, or maybe not, but in all the rabbinic writings, the more ancient ones, post-Christian, Jesus is mentioned by name. His name is not ignored, but the name is Yeshua of Nazareth. Yeshua of Nazareth. Or simply, if they're really being more typical, that man. It is forbidden to speak the name of someone that the Orthodox consider to be so evil. But that in itself, that raises a question for us. If that's so, why then have the rabbis continued calling him by name? Even Maimonides calls him by name. And now listen, get ready for this in connection to what we're saying. Maimonides says, give honor to that man, Jesus of Nazareth. Give honor to that man because he sought to bring together the two sides of God. That's Maimonides. What Maimonides goes on to say, more or less, I won't quote it, is that unfortunately the Gentiles got a hold of his teachings and totally perverted them. And when we say the Gentiles, read the side of the Sitra Achra. Said, Rabbi Eliezer, it is written, his body shall not remain all night on the tree. How many? Those of you out there in the listening audience and our guests this morning, how many times have you heard the cross called the tree? It's used almost as often as the cross. It is written, his body shall not remain all night on the tree. On the tree. His body shall not remain on the tree. Can you get more graphic than that? Remember, this is thousands of years before Jesus. And yet, exactly describes the circumstances of Jesus. And why shall it not remain on the tree? Because it defiles the land. And it goes on. The Zohar says the reason for this is that the land is holy, and the unclean spirit must find no place in the holy land on which to rest. This being so, seeing that the spirit of uncleanliness rests on this animal, and it comes from the side of uncleanliness, how can it be brought as an offering to the side of holiness? Now, we have to go a little deeper than that, to a very unpleasant point of view for, well, I venture to say most Christians. And that is that Jesus had cleaved to the side of unholiness. And furthermore, not because he was a bad guy, but because that is what the Messiah must do. The Messiah must enter unholiness to transform it into holiness. But you cannot do that from the outside. You must do it from the inside. Even to the extent of dying, of entering into death. This being so, seeing that the spirit of uncleanliness rests on this animal, the goat, and it comes from the side of uncleanness, how can it be brought as an offering to the side of holiness? Rabbi Shimon replied, you have asked well, my son. The answer is as follows. It is written, the Lord thy God is a devouring fire. The fire of the Holy One, blessed be he, feeds on another fire. Jesus entered into the realm of the Sitra Achra, into the realm of evil, was a practitioner of the left hand of God. Notice he practiced at night. There are tomes written by advanced Christian scholars about Jesus, the necromancer, the practitioner of evil. So this is not just coming out of my mind. The question is, but then why must he be sacrificed on the tree? Because it says, you transform evil by sacrificing evil to it. You enter the side of good, the side of mercy and holiness, which Jesus also represented. Enters the side of evil, unholiness, and uncleanliness in order to transform it from the inside out. The problem is, some modern Jewish mystics have pointed out that Jesus got trapped in there in so trying. He went in there to transform the evil. He entered the evil to transform the evil by grabbing onto the evil. But he became possessed by the evil. How do we know that? Well, Sabbatai Zevi says it. If you remember, I've talked frequently about Mashiach, Sabbatai Zevi, the successor to Jesus. In the major synagogue said we must restore the soul of Jesus to holiness. We must complete for Jesus what he was supposed to complete for himself, but for one reason or another was unable to do it. Remember? For years we said Kaddish on behalf of the soul of Yeshua Bar Miriam in order to assist him in completing his reasons for entering into evil and grasping a hold of evil. He took hold of evil, he embraced the evil, not to become identified with it, but to transform it out of his own holiness. Unfortunately, the opposite happened. Part of our work as neo-sabbatians is to fulfill the demand of Messiah Sabbatai Zevi, that soul of holiness who still is trapped and suffering in the side of evil, that of Yeshua bar Miriam, that we must redeem that soul and separate it out of the side of unholiness to which it attached itself for what it thought was only temporary, but has not been able to detach itself from since. Now, I realize we're going to lose a lot of those who are listening because that's so heretical. Oh, wait. Heretical. That's the point of all this. Kabbalah for the heretic. We've just taken you through one of the most heretical examples of all that. This being so, seeing that the spirit of uncleanliness rests on this goat, and it comes from the side of uncleanliness, how can it be brought as an offering to the side of holiness? Shimon replied, "You have asked well, my son." And we'll get into that answer tomorrow. Meantime, we'll stop here. Can you still hear me? Our visitor, you thought? Good. All right. Well, let's conclude our broadcast this morning as we've been concluding the broadcast every morning, and we'll continue doing for the next year by reciting the prayer for the dead, for the soul of our departed comrade and beloved brother, Leonard Cohen. Yiskadal Yiskadal Shmei Rabbo, Bo Modi V'Chirusei V'Yamlich Machusei, V'Chayachon V'Yomechon V'Chayei D'Chol Beis Yisrael, Magalo V'Zman Koye B'Imro Amen. Yehesh Merabah V'Rach Leila Mumel Maya, Yisparach V'Yishtabach V'Yispa'ar V'Yisamam V'Yisasei V'Yisadar V'Yisalei V'Yisalel, Shrei D'Kutshal B'Reichu Le'Elo Min Chel V'Yichosa V'Shirotsa V'Shmechosa V'Nechemasa Damiran B'Amo V'Imru Amen. Yehesh Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, V'Chayinu Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. Osei Shalom Hu Ya'asei Shalom Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. Hallelujah. That concludes our broadcast for this morning. Shalom. Baruch Hashem.